Hello everyone, my name is Thina Nzo and I am the Program Manager at Twendembele, which is a peer learning network for 6 African countries, which is Ghana, Niger, and we also have Benin, but then in the East African region, we've got Kenya, Uganda, and then South Africa and Malawi. So this peer learning network is about institutionalizing monitoring and evaluation learning amongst these African countries so that we can support them towards producing evidence-based policy making that can result in the betterment of their communities and citizens in their countries. The most exciting element of the journey is the fact that, as you know, most African countries are classified as developing countries. So they are still within their early stages of developing monitoring and evaluation systems, which can culminate into learning. But the problem that they are facing, or should I say the challenges that they are encountering, is the generation of evidence that can inform the policy decision making that can contribute towards the improvement of their lives. So being part of ASEC, being part of this community that is actually trying to produce or bring together evidence through the synthesis of evidence is going to help some of our country members to benefit out of evidence synthesis that is primarily needed for their data management systems to inform their policy development.
Definitely. On the note of benefiting, what do you think is the most exciting impact that you see evidence synthesis in the journey of ASEC having on lives globally? And I think particularly using your context of being from the Global South to highlight how do you think it would be beneficial to the regular citizen, to the regular user, that's experiencing the outcomes of these policies?
Looking at it from a community of practice where I work very closely with policymakers, we need to find more practical solutions that can support policymakers. For example, right now what we are seeing in the developing countries in the Global South is a high influence of policy agenda setting that is actually being cascaded into various African governments. So that they do not have adequate time to use what we call formative evaluations that contribute towards the setting of the agenda, the formulation of the policy that talks to the local context. Most of the evidence that is primarily out there available for policymakers is driven by global information generators, particularly your global organizations such as the IMF, World Bank, that sometimes is more biased towards economic evidence, environmental evidence when we're talking about climate change, the just energy transition, but it does not, transit beyond the different sectoral, particularly your socio-economic sectoral sectors that will be impacted by any policy changes, whether it's for climate change or just energy transition. So we need that data that is locally driven, that provides with a synthesis of both quantitative and qualitative evidence that is also generated by local organizations so that they can influence the agenda setting that talks to the socio-economic contextual issues that African countries are facing. So I think ASEC has the potential to bring together the evidence synthesis both from a global, regional and local perspective that would be available for policymakers in order for them to set the correct agenda and formulate the right policies that will talk to the socio-economic conditions of communities in developing countries.